So, one question that I get, and I tried to find something Team Canada, all I could find was Leafs, because the maple leaf is technically Canada's symbol, is the question of covering the IIHF World Championships and covering the CHL playoffs, which includes the Memorial Cup. Now, the Memorial Cup I can likely get into once we're into the actual tournament. There's the weekend games that go on. The IIHF tournament's tough for me because it's over in Germany. Like today, Canada beats the Germans 2-1 in a squeaker thanks to the fact that Philip Grubauer is from another planet. But by all means, people who didn't like him as my choice for the number one most likely to be of benefit to another team if he gets traded, don't pay any attention to what Grubauer did today. He's just awesome. That's all. But I don't get to see the games, and by the time I come home, they're over. And my other problem with the World Championships is, and I know we've got Russia, Canada, and we've got Finland, Sweden, and there's some excitement there. Some of the best players for those countries are still playing hockey right now in the playoffs. So, I mean, if Canada doesn't win, okay, but, I mean, there's this Subban guy who's pretty good. There's this Crosby kid, I think, in Pittsburgh. There's some pretty good players. And they're not playing right now because they're playing in the playoffs. Which means that NHL players put the playoffs ahead of the IIHF tournament. And no offense to the IIHF tournament, but it's not the same. Even after the game where Canada beat the Germans, Matt Duchene, I believe it was Matt Duchene, said they were hooking and holding and you know, doing whatever they could to slow us down, but eventually we broke through. That to me sounds like referees letting things slide that the NHL would probably call. The old early 2000s style of hockey, where you can mug somebody before a penalty gets called. And I know we've seen some of that in the playoffs, but not to the same extent as it was in like 2002 or 2003. It was obscene at that point. And so it makes it hard for me to come home and do a video on the IIHF, because let's put this into perspective. I get up at 3:30 in the morning to go to work. I work a town over from where I am, so we're on the road every morning. And I start work at 4:20 in the morning. I'm done work at 1 in the afternoon. I'm normally home by around 2 o'clock, depending if we have any errands to run or anything. If we have errands to run, it might be 3:30. Keep in mind, I'm supposed to go to bed at 9 o'clock. Now, if there's a hockey game on, so right now we've got Nashville and Anaheim, that fills 3 hours of that time. If there's overtime, it's more than that. My focus on this channel is to make sure that when I talk to you guys about stuff, I know what I'm talking about. So I could start doing quick hits about, hey, so last night, how about those London Knights? And then somebody could post and say, they're out. What are you talking about? Because I don't, or, I talk about what happened, but all I can do is read the box score. Just say, it looks like so-and-so had a good game, and then somebody watched it goes, actually, I know he had a goal, but he kind of had a shit game. He gave the puck away on the game-winning goal. Didn't you watch the highlights? And then my answer is no. So, for me, there's a certain amount of hockey that I can cram in, especially during playoff time, but just in general. Because with me working, 40-hour weeks, and with the fact that, I get up at 3:30, I work at 4:20, so there's an hour gone already. And then it's about an hour before I get home, so that's almost 12 hours. And then there's sleep time that has to happen. I've tried to deny sleep, but my body will not allow it. For me to cover IIHF, CHL, and every stage of the Memorial Cup would involve ignoring games in the playoffs. And I can't do that. I've had games in the playoffs where I've watched 2.5 periods of a game and talked about something, and then somebody said, well, what about this that happened? And I'm like, fuck, I didn't see that. when did that happen? So then I go back and I look. I'm like, oh, that was right before I turned the game on, or that was right. I switched channels. That. So I literally can't turn away from a hockey game for 10 seconds, or somebody's head's coming off, or there's going to be rats on the ice, or there's lava. How did lava get into? What do you mean there was lava? I didn't see lava when I was watching. Like, anything happens when I'm not watching. It's that watch pot never boils. So I focus on the playoffs. I focus on talking to you guys about the NHL, the upcoming draft. I get into the prospects on some level because I listen to various sources on prospects. I go to various websites about prospects. It is hard to find websites that regularly update regarding prospects. Even eliteprospects.com, which you'd think is right in their name, right? No, if you look at some of their charts, they're way out of date. Way out of date. Because when you get into prospects, let's just say at a minimum, there's 10 prospects to watch for every team. If you're a fan of these guys, you've probably got 10 prospects' names in your heads right now, don't you? Or if you're a Canuck fan or a Flames fan, you guys all have all your prospects all lined up in a row because you guys cheer for one team. Now in this channel, I'm trying to present it that I'm covering everybody. So that means there's approximately 300 prospects that at any point in time somebody's likely to ask me about. Then there's probably another 150 that are obscure. Like, for instance, the two defensemen that signed with Toronto. And I was asked, do a video about that. And I'm like, Rosen and Borgstrom. That sounds like a law firm. I have no idea. Did they hire lawyers? I don't know what the Leafs did. So I looked them up. I looked up their stats. I looked up stuff on them, and I found out they're Swedish. And they play hockey. And they're okay. They seem to be at the right age that if they're ready to go, they can play this year. I don't know if either of them make the Leafs. I don't have a clue. Because there's so little information regarding these guys. And it is a drawback for me with doing this, with saying, all right, I'm going to cover every team. Because I can get in depth on the main roster. I can get in depth on what happens in game. I can get in depth on guys who debut in a game that I watch, or it's their first game. I watched Griffin Molino's first game in Vancouver, though, and I didn't even realize he was on the ice till after the game. And I looked at the lineup card, and I'm like, oh, Molino played. Never heard his name all night. Never saw his name on the back of a jersey. I don't know where he was. And I was at that game. So it's a tricky thing. So for me, if I did start covering IIHF World Championships, it would come across as really, really thin. And I can't give it the kind of depth and passion that I demand of myself. There was a video I started today that a few minutes in I went, nah, click. It happens. Where I listen to myself and I go, oh, I'm not feeling it. Nah, nope. And I start over. So, it's one of those things. And so for me to cover the IIHF, I mean, if there's a gold medal game on a day that I'm home from work and there's no NHL going on at the time, yeah, I'll watch it. And then I'll talk to you guys about it. I don't have a problem talking about it. The other problem being guys who regularly play well. Is that a dead duck? What's wrong with Predators fans? And I worked at a duck plant. I eviscerated thousands of ducks. My God. Okay, but that aside, for me, for me to cover IIHF, it's a matter too of I've always found that the hockey doesn't seem as passionate or as good. It's just there's a certain amount of these players are trying not to get hurt. There is some of that, and there are certain players who are very, very intense in an NHL uniform, and playing for their country, they're very intense at the Olympics, but at the World Championships, maybe they're already kind of on vacation. Maybe they're not skating quite as hard. These things happen, and I don't blame them really. You know, it's a fun little tournament. It's not taken as seriously in North America as it is in the rest of the world. You know, for Finns, Swedes, Russians, it's a bigger tournament than it is in Canada and the U.S. If it was a bigger tournament in Canada and the U.S., it would be in July. It'd be after the regular season's over, and that's probably never going to happen. Although, on a side note, if the NHL got together with the IIHF and found a way to make the World Championships the replacement for the World Cup, now you got something that I can cover, we can have fun with, and who knows what could happen. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, and thank you so much for watching. I'm going to watch this game. I'll have plenty to talk to you about probably during and after. I'll be tweeting during, and I'll be talking to you guys after.